Nobody tells you the rules. Go to school, get the degree, get the job, reach the milestone, follow the sequence, and you are promised a good life. Most people follow it. Most people arrive and find the milestone empty. Carl Jung watched this happen for decades. Successful people, accomplished people, all asking the same question. I did everything right. Why does it feel like this? His answer was brutal. You have been playing the wrong game. Today we go into that. Stay until the end. 1. The game most people are playing and who designed it. Before you can win the real game, you have to see the one you have been playing. Jung called it the persona game. The persona, his term, borrowed from the Latin word for the masks worn by actors in ancient theater, is the face you present to the world. The professional self, the social self, the self that has learned, through years of feedback, exactly which qualities to emphasize and which to conceal in order to receive approval, avoid rejection, and function successfully within the group. This persona is not a lie exactly. It contains real parts of you, but it is always a selection, always a curation, always the version of you that was shaped more by what the environment rewarded than by what you actually are. And the game most people are playing, the career game, the status game, the achievement game, the approval game, is, at its core, the game of building and maintaining and advancing this persona. The more successful the persona becomes, the more recognition it receives, the higher it climbs, the more consistently it is rewarded, the more convincingly it presents itself as you. Until one day, often in the middle of what should be the best period of life, the person beneath the persona raises a question that the persona cannot answer. Is this actually what I want? Is this actually who I am? Is this the life I would have chosen if I had known what I know now? Jung called this the midlife crisis, not as a cliché, but as a genuine psychological event. The moment the persona, however successful, can no longer suppress the demands of the deeper self beneath it. The game of the persona can be won. Many people win it, and discover, upon winning, that the trophy is hollow. Because the persona game was never about you. It was about the audience. And an audience's approval, however large, however consistent, however enthusiastically given, cannot fill the space that genuine self-knowledge occupies. 2. The real game, and why almost nobody plays it. Jung called the real game individuation. It is the lifelong process of becoming who you actually are. Not who you were told to be. Not who the group needs you to be. Not who the persona successfully performs. Who you actually fundamentally, irreducibly are, beneath every layer of conditioning, performance, and inherited expectation. This sounds simple. It is the most demanding undertaking available to a human being, because becoming who you actually are requires, as its first condition, an honest encounter with who you actually are not. The shadow. Every quality you suppressed because it was unwelcome. The persona. Every performance you maintained because it was rewarded. The anima, or animus. The undeveloped contrasexual dimension of your psyche. The inner figure that holds the qualities your conscious identity has refused. The complex. The emotionally charged clusters of experience that operate autonomously beneath conscious awareness, hijacking your reactions in ways you don't choose, and often don't notice. To play the real game, you must face all of this, not to destroy it, to integrate it, to become large enough to contain your full reality, the darkness and the light, the failure and the capability, the fear and the desire, without needing to suppress any of it. This is why almost nobody plays it. Not because people are lazy or cowardly, though sometimes that contributes, but because the game requires something the persona game explicitly does not. the willingness to be wrong about yourself, to discover that the self you have been protecting and promoting and building your life around is not the whole story, that beneath it, sometimes uncomfortably different from it, is something more. Most people would rather win the wrong game than risk losing the self-image they have spent decades constructing. Jung understood this. He did not judge it, but he was clear about the cost. The person who never plays the real game does not escape the consequences. The consequences simply arrive differently. In the symptom, in the depression, in the relationship that keeps failing in the same way, in the success that feels hollow, in the life that looks right from the outside and feels wrong from the inside. The real game finds you. The only question is whether you engage with it consciously or wait for it to force the engagement. 3. The rules nobody tells you. Every game has rules. The real game has 7. Not as restrictions, as the actual structure of how individuation works. Rule 1. The game begins from the inside, not the outside. Every external achievement, the job, the relationship, the status, the money, is a context for the real game. It is not the game itself. The real game is always happening at the interior level, in what you are becoming through your choices, your confrontations with yourself, your willingness to grow. Two people can have identical external lives and be at completely different points in the real game. Because the real game is not about what is happening around you, it is about what is happening in you. Rule 2. Losing is part of the structure, not a sign you are doing it wrong. Jung was precise about this. The real game is not won through uninterrupted progress. It is won through the specific kind of engagement that failure, loss, and genuine suffering make possible. The failure that forced you to confront something you had been avoiding. The loss that stripped away a layer of the persona and revealed something beneath it. The suffering that you could not manage or medicate away, that you had to actually go through. These are not deductions from your score. They are moves in the game, often the most important moves. The person who has avoided all significant loss has also avoided significant development. They are intact but shallow. The person who has gone through something real and metabolized it rather than merely surviving it. They have depth that cannot be built any other way. Rule 3. The shadow must be engaged, not avoided. This is the rule most people spend their entire lives breaking. Whatever you have suppressed, denied, projected outward onto others, it does not disappear from the game. It plays against you from your own side. The unexamined anger becomes passive aggression. The unacknowledged fear becomes the pattern that keeps recurring. The suppressed desire becomes the compulsion you don't understand. Engaging the shadow is not a psychological luxury. In the real game, it is a survival requirement. Because the parts of yourself you refuse to see will make your decisions for you, from below, without your knowledge or consent. Rule 4. The game requires a relationship between the ego and the self. The ego, the conscious, managing, daily life-running part of the psyche, is necessary, but not sufficient. Jung observed that the ego, when it believes itself to be the whole of the psyche, consistently makes the mistake of treating its own preferences, fears, and inherited values as the ultimate truth about reality. The self, the organizing center of the total psyche, the deep intelligence that encompasses both conscious and unconscious, has a perspective the ego cannot access alone. It speaks through dreams, through the irrational but persistent pull toward certain things, through the symptoms that appear when its messages are consistently ignored, through the synchronicities that cluster around moments of genuine inner engagement. The real game is, at its core, the development of this relationship, the ego learning to listen to the self gradually becoming more audible as the ego becomes more willing to hear. Rule 5. The game is played in the present, not in the future. The persona game is fundamentally future-oriented. When I reach the next milestone, then I will have arrived. When I achieve the next level, then I will feel complete. The real game has no such structure. It is played entirely in the present encounter, the present relationship, the present confrontation with yourself, the present moment of choice between what is comfortable and what is true. The person always living toward a future state of completion is permanently absent from the actual game, which is happening now, in this conversation with yourself, in this relationship, in this moment of decision, always now. Rule 6. The game cannot be played alone. Jung observed that genuine development requires genuine encounter with other people, relationships that challenge, that reveal, that refuse to let you maintain the comfortable illusions the persona depends on. With a guide, at certain stages, someone who has traveled further into the real game and can recognize where you are and what the territory ahead requires. With the material of your own interior, the dreams, the symptoms, the synchronicities that only become legible in genuine dialogue with them. The isolated self, however self-sufficient it appears, is playing the game with half the available information, because some truths about the self are only visible through encounter with something genuinely other. Rule 7. Winning looks nothing like what you expected. This is the rule that surprises people most. Winning the real game does not look like the absence of struggle. It does not look like certainty, or invulnerability, or the permanent resolution of doubt. It looks like the capacity to be fully present to your own experience, including its difficulties, without needing it to be different from what it is. The capacity to hold both the light and the shadow, both the strength and the limitation, both the knowing and the not knowing, without collapsing into either. The capacity to be genuinely, continuously, unmistakably yourself, without apology, without performance, without the constant vigilance of a persona that must be maintained. Jung called this wholeness, not perfection, wholeness. The integration of the full range of what you are, accepted, inhabited, expressed, without the energy-consuming work of suppressing half of it. This is the prize, and it is available to anyone willing to play the actual game. 4. The levels of the real game. Like every serious game, individuation has levels, not fixed stages with clean transitions, but a recognizable sequence of encounters that almost everyone who plays the real game moves through. Level 1. The encounter with the persona. The realization that the self you have been presenting, to the world, to yourself, is a construction. That it is not wrong exactly, but it is not complete. That beneath the performance, beneath the adaptation, beneath the role that has been so thoroughly inhabited, it began to feel like a person. Something else is present. This realization is often triggered by crisis, a failure that the persona cannot absorb, a loss that strips away the professional identity, a relationship that reveals something about you that you did not know was there. The crisis is not punishment. It is the game announcing itself. Level 2. The encounter with the shadow. The first direct confrontation with what you have suppressed. It arrives in many forms. The quality you most despise in other people, and slowly, uncomfortably recognize in yourself. The pattern that keeps repeating across different relationships, different contexts, always producing the same result. The feeling that erupts with a force completely disproportionate to its apparent trigger. The shadow encounter is not comfortable, but it is where the game begins in earnest. Because until you can see what you have suppressed, you cannot make choices. You can only react, from below, from the unexamined interior, in ways you don't understand and cannot change. Level 3. The encounter with the deeper self. The first genuine contact with the layer beneath the ego, often arriving as a dream of unusual power, a synchronicity that cannot be explained away, a moment of insight that did not feel like thinking, that arrived from somewhere below the level of ordinary conscious thought. The voice that has been trying to reach you through every channel the noise blocked. Finally, in a moment of genuine stillness or genuine crisis, audible. This encounter changes the trajectory of the game permanently. Because once you have heard the deeper self, even once, you know it exists. And you cannot fully go back to the persona game. You know there is something else available. Level 4. The integration. The long, non-linear, deeply personal work of bringing all of this together. Shadow integrated, not eliminated, but known, accepted, brought into conscious relationship. Persona worn consciously, used as a functional tool rather than inhabited as an identity. Deeper self listened to, through dreams, through genuine stillness, through the willingness to follow what calls, rather than only what is rational. This level has no completion date. It is the work of a lifetime. Which is exactly what Jung meant when he said that individuation is not a destination. It is a direction. The direction of becoming more fully, more completely, more genuinely yourself. Continuously. For as long as you are alive. 5. The moves that advance you in the real game. 7 moves. Applicable now, regardless of where in the game you currently are. Move 1. Tell the truth about where you actually are. Not where you want to be. Not where you should be by now. Not the version you present to the world. Where you actually, honestly are. In your interior. In your relationships. In the distance between the life you are living and the one you know. Beneath everything you are capable of. This honesty is the only valid starting point. Move 2. Follow what genuinely moves you, even when it makes no external sense. Not the preference that is socially acceptable, not the passion that photographs well, the thing that moves in you at a level below strategy and approval and calculation. Jung's clinical experience was consistent. The things that move us at this level are not random. They are the self-indicating direction. Move 3. Take the relationship that is trying to teach you seriously. Not the comfortable relationships, the difficult ones, the one that keeps triggering the same reaction, the one that reveals something about you that you would prefer not to see. These relationships are not obstacles to the game. They are some of the most important moves available. Move 4. Write down your dreams. Tonight, every night. Not to analyze them immediately, simply to demonstrate, through the act of recording, that you are paying attention. The unconscious, Jung found, becomes more communicative when it is consistently attended to. The dreams become more vivid, more memorable, more clearly purposeful over time. Move 5. Identify your most persistent pattern and sit with the question of what it is protecting. The pattern that recurs across different areas of your life. The same relationship dynamic with different people. The same self-sabotage before the same kind of success. The same withdrawal at the same kind of moment. This pattern is not a character flaw. It is a protection, built at some point for a genuine reason, now operating automatically past its usefulness. Understanding what it is protecting is the beginning of being able to choose differently. Move 6. Do the thing the persona has been preventing. Every persona has a prohibition, something it cannot do without threatening the identity it has constructed. Express anger, ask for help, admit uncertainty, show vulnerability, create without an audience, fail publicly, change direction. Whatever the persona prohibits, that prohibition is almost always pointing directly at what the deeper self most needs to express. Move 7. Measure your progress by interior quality, not exterior achievement. This is the hardest shift, because interior quality is not visible, cannot be photographed, cannot be compared, cannot be used to win the persona game. But it is the only measurement that reflects the actual score in the real game. Am I more honest with myself than I was a year ago? Am I more able to be present in my own life? Am I more genuinely myself in the relationships that matter? Am I closer to the person I would be if I were not afraid? These are the questions the real game asks, and they are the only answers that count. 6. The final truth. Jung wrote something in his autobiography that reads differently every time you encounter it. He wrote that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Not the achievement of a lifetime, the privilege. The specific, earned, irreplaceable privilege of arriving, after everything, at a genuine relationship with your own actual nature. Not the nature you performed, not the nature you were assigned, not the nature the game taught you to optimize. The one that was there before any of that began. The one that has been persisting beneath every persona, every adaptation, every carefully managed presentation of self. The one that speaks in dreams when the noise finally stops. The one that pulls toward certain things without rational justification. The one that carries, somewhere in its depths, a knowledge of what this particular life is for. That no external authority ever gave you, and no external authority can take away. Winning the game of life, in Jung's framework, is not crossing a finish line. It is arriving at the experience, available at any age, at any external level of achievement or failure, of being genuinely, fully, unapologetically present in your own existence. Not performing it, living it, not watching it from behind the screen of the persona, inhabiting it, not waiting for the external conditions to finally be right, being here, now, as what you actually are. Most people will never do this, not because they can't, because they never understood that this was the game. They were playing the other one, winning the other one, being rewarded for the other one, and never quite understanding why winning it didn't feel like winning anything. Now you know,